New Balances. It's like, okay, fine, whatever. But it's like winter boots in an office. I'm not gonna buy
It's
into that.
great.
No.
No, honestly, it's really fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
You should try it sometime.
I see.
So that being said, yeah, so I relaxed that. I started growing the beard and like not caring if it was trimmed too much because I like our day-to-day stuff is I'm like seeing the same 10 or 15 people and none of them care how I look and all of them are in various states. Like some people, I tend to find the longer you've been there, the more you'll have days where you're just completely relaxed. And I'm finding that to be true because I'm slowly converting to being okay with not being like super dressy.
Right. I guess I kind of did the same. I more often than not wear a polo with dress pants instead of a button-down shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Button-down shirts I'll throw on if I have like a meeting.
Right.
Then it's like, okay, I'll ramp it up a notch.
Yeah, if you have a meeting that day, like you'll come in wearing that or you'll change into
right. No, I won't change at work, but I'll come in wearing a button-down shirt if I know I have a meeting that day. I'm still ready for a meeting if I need to.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm not wearing boots around the office, right? But
I mean,
that'd
would
be
do that.
crazy. But it's at the least, khakis / dress pants and then a polo
Right.
at my least dressy. Aside from Fridays. Fridays are the ubiquitous casual day of the week.
Yeah.
At least around Calgary anyway. I know it kind of varies from locale to locale.
That was definitely how I started. Was Fridays I would dress like that, and then I was like, why am I dressing better any other day? And so now I haven't gone to the point where like I'm now casual all week. I haven't gone to the point where Friday still becomes even more casual. I just keep it casual Friday the whole time.
You'll know you're at that point when it's like flip-flop Friday.
Exactly. There is a guy, he doesn't work on like on our floor, but who does that. He's like, in the summer, he'll be like shorts and t-shirt and flip-flops. In the winter, like sweatpants and runners.
Nice.
It's pretty funny.
That's bold.
It's just because it's the one guy, but he's been there for so long that it's like, all right, you don't do anything with like you don't do face-to-face stuff with people who would care. So
right.
Yeah. But so to bring it back to the beard story, the reason that I think this person, well, one of the reasons potentially that this person is growing a beard is because they see you with one. So they think, okay, this is acceptable. And I want, like, I'm either lazy or feel comfortable doing it because it's kind of accepted. You've set the precedent and potentially other people in your office by having one.
But see, it's not the kind of, I don't know. I never, like, aside from the hygiene aspect, like in a food prep setting, why would you not be allowed, or why would it be frowned upon to have facial hair? Like,
well, tell that to our parents in the 70s when it was like you need a suit and
right. Well, that's the 70s.
Every day.
We're not the 70s anymore.
That's what I mean is that things have changed, but it used to be that was the case, and now people are kind of more relaxed about it.
Well, this guy's like my age,
right? No,
so he's not like from the 70s. Like, oh, finally, I'm in a place where I can.
No, I know, but certain businesses, like I'm assuming, I don't know because I've never worked in it, but like the financial industry, I assume from what I see that you still need to be pretty clean cut and shaved and dress in a suit every day. Like if you're going to be trading on the stock market, I just assume that you need to look fancy. Or if you're in the news industry, like you can't just be walking with a bushy old beard. You need to either keep it very trimmed or like someone will, when you get to work, a makeup person or hair person will do it for you.
Do you ever have those references where the only knowledge or familiarity you have with it is from movies?
Yeah.
And I think like the stock market, like traders, my only perception of them is what I've seen in movies and TV shows.
Definitely.
Lawyers is the same. I'm getting better though, because one of my friends is a lawyer. So I try to be like, so in Suits, how they do this and this and this. He's like, yeah, no, it's not like that. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Pretty much everything is like that. I definitely think of like finance as just being that. And lawyers, I've seen, for me, it's mostly the opposite because like the only real lawyer show I ever watched for a long time was Franklin and Bash, and they were doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So I just assumed that that wasn't how it actually worked.
Right, like it wasn't a realistic portrayal or
Yeah,
trying to be
exactly.
realistic,
It
right?
was, yeah, it wasn't hyper realistic. It was like if frat bros started a law firm, which is basically the premise of the show.
Right.
So they were all like having all kinds of hijinks at their offices and trying crazy stuff in the courtroom. Like it was meant to be more humorous than realistic.
That's fair.
Yep. So we each have a bit of stuff we wanted to discuss and follow up relating to,
Not follow up. Front matter.
sorry, front matter, because we're not following up on anything. That's right. Do you want to go first and talk about your printer?
I do. I can't remember if it was the show or not, but my printer died the week of Christmas. So it was actually pretty timely because Boxing Day was obviously right around the corner, and that's when printers tend to go on sale. I mean, it'd be silly to buy a printer any other time.
Yes.
So I was able, and so the printer that we had, it just decided to give some like maintenance light when I tried printing. And so I looked it up and it's like, oh yeah, you have to send it in for repair. I'm like,
Oh my
this
gosh.
printer was $60. I'm not sending in a $60 printer for repair. And at that point, it was like 2 years old already anyway. So
Yeah.
it's like, actually maybe even 3 years old. So in any case, it wasn't worth sending it in anywhere.
Right.
So I was like, well, you served your purpose and I'm going to go get a new one. So Boxing Day, we went out and bought a newer model, which is actually like less complex. Like the one that we had was scanner, printer, fax. This one now is scanner, printer.
Okay.
And it's kind of your more, it's not like the lifting top flatbed one, but just the regular like feed printer, because we only really need it for printing kind of various stuff to sign and like scanning the odd thing to whoever. But for the most part, we really don't need it except in like emergencies.
Yeah, it's like once a month maybe.
Like, if that, like so it's one of those like HP instant ink valid ones, which I like read about when they first introduced it, and it seemed like a pretty good idea. So they had one of those printers on sale that took the ink that was valid for or legible for the instant ink program, which is like they'll automatically send you more ink once yours is at whatever level. I guess
so like you pay for it, but they send it to you.
Yeah, so they'll they bill you for it.
Yeah,
like you agree to have them send you ink when you need it. And the program itself costs money if you print over a certain amount of pages per month, but there's a free level at 15 pages per month. So basically, if they have to send you ink, whatever it works out to be, so 15 pages per month. I don't know how many pages are in each ink cartridge, but if you're only doing 15 pages per month, they're probably only sending you ink like once every 6 months, if that, right? But if you're printing like 100 pages per month, then you have to pay a $3 per month subscription to the program to cover the additional cost of shipping. Whereas if you're only getting ink like once or twice a year, then they just give it to you. They'll provide the service for free.
But you still pay for shipping when you ship it, don't you?
No, the shipping's free.
That's such a weird sounding program. I mean, I guess it's fine, but
what do you mean?
I don't know. Just the idea that there's a free tier if you only print 15 pages a month. It seems very weird to be paying a company to ship you ink more frequently, but not if it's less. I would think if you attain that certain level,
right,
shipping becomes free, and it's like they'll just send you ink whenever you need it.
Maybe? I don't know. I see what you're saying. I didn't think too much about it. I'm like, okay, it's free.
Oh, exactly.
So,
it's designed to make you not. You're like, oh yeah, subscription. Okay, that's fine. And then you think about it, you're like, wait, this is a weird incentive.
No, but I mean, if I was the one paying for it, then for sure I'd think about more about it. But it's like it's free, so I don't care. Like I'm not going to be like, oh, I should be charged money. I'm not going to tell them that.
No, I
agree. So I don't know. The whole reason I want to talk about this is because my experience with setting up printers and like installing drivers and all this kind of stuff, it had always been very hassly.
Okay.
But this one was actually quite different, and I don't have any other new printer installation experience to to compare to, but this one, like, they have their own app and interface to like set up your printer. So like you don't have to do a whole bunch of like specific computer driver installation and like registration, all that kind of stuff. It was all very contained within this one app. And so like once you have it on your network and it all like connects to the network through this app and all this kind of stuff. Like, so it's very easy to use and guided instead of like opening the box and being like, I mean, like, not that I open a box about what should I do with this, because I'll usually look at it myself, but it kind of held your hand as you set it up, and it was very easy to just kind of get going. Like it was a pleasurable experience to set it up. And I don't know when the last printer you set up was, but in the past, it had always been very, you know, you have to go through like adding a printer and then figure out which one it was and then installing a whole bunch of drivers and all this kind of stuff. And it seemed like this one had a lot less hassle with it. So it was really nice to see. And hopefully most modern printers are at that point.
Yeah, I think so. Where
you know, I just like the idea of having an app to do all the setup with.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very, very forward thinking, or at least with the times. It's not even forward thinking at this point.
It's like present thinking.
How could you not have an app? But so yeah, no, I'm happy about that experience. So I'd recommend if anyone's going to be getting a printer anytime soon, look into how easy it is to set up, and the new HP ones seem to be at that point, thankfully.
Right. The last, other than printing at work, which I consider to be totally different because all the printer stuff is taken care of because it's like a huge business, and if there's something wrong, they just send a repair person. But my home printing, I think it's probably less than you, because I think, like, I try to avoid printing at all costs anyways. The last time I bought a printer was 2 or 3 years ago, and it was like I literally walked in to, I guess, the Source, and I looked for the cheapest printer that also had a scanner built in, and it was $30, I think, maybe 20 or 30. And if that ever runs out of ink, I'm just going to buy another one because the ink is way more expensive. The extent of my printing is mostly just PDFs that require something to be filled out and mailed in. Yeah. I don't know what else you print for.
We find that we print when we're preparing for a trip, and we're printing all of our documents. Like, we have it all on our phone and emails and stuff.
Yeah.
But we should try to have the hard copies there in case we, for one reason or another, like our phone is, I don't know, being slow, or they don't accept whatever on your phone, or like it runs out of battery, that kind of stuff. So it's always good to have the paper printouts there. But I mean, hopefully we're moving away from needing paper documents, but but I do see the benefit of having the paper one available as an additional kind of backup, especially if you're traveling and you don't have the luxury of, you know, having time to go and, you know, fix your phone or charge it or whatever. It's like you're standing in line at security. It's like you don't want to be having to fiddle with that.
Right. Yeah, I've always opted for, when in those kind of situations, I've always opted to just make sure my phone is charged if I'm ever going to have to do that.
Oh, for sure. But it's like, you and I both know that people be like, oh no, we need the paper printout, right? Maybe. Of whatever it is that you're trying to show documents for.
Yeah.
Just people see that, you know, oh, it's printed out, so it must be the only legit copy or something. It's like, it's literally by definition a replication of whatever it is that you printed. So, but
well, I've always said, if you need a physical piece of paper as the proof that something exists or is the way it is, then you're doing something wrong with your system, because that should never be the official record. There should always be some recognition of it somewhere. But there are certain kind of official instances where that's the case. Like, I think government bonds or like certain types of financial documents are that way, where it's written down somewhere that you have this, but the official thing is actually the thing, like the paper that says it on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The opposite of Bitcoin, I guess.
So you have some new technology news too that I'm interested to hear about.
I guess this is relatively quiet unless you are involved in my Twitter DMs, but which I only is only me and Dell. So I've been talking with Dell because I ordered a desktop computer from them in the summer, and I've honestly really loved the computer, but since selling my desk and moving the computer from underneath that desk where it was kind of out of sight and out of mind to on top of my kitchen table where it's right beside me if I'm sitting at the computer working, I've noticed that this computer is very loud. Like the fan noises are just much louder than I've ever been accustomed to. And I wasn't sure why that was. And I wasn't sure if it was unexpectedly loud or if there was any way that I could make it quieter. But because the computer was advertised as quiet, I basically asked on Twitter what they could do. And I'm going to make this long story short because it's been like 3 weeks of trying to sort this out. But basically, I haven't asked, like they have been very good on social media at Dell and have been doing everything they can to try and fix this problem. I'm within the first year of warranty, so everything has been covered. And I've been like basically trying to ask. I sent them an audio clip or a video clip with some audio of the fan going. Like, is this volume super loud or what? Am I crazy? And so they followed up, did all this, had me run all these updates, sent me new BIOS drivers, sent me new graphics drivers, all this stuff. And the noise is still there. So they sent out a repair person with a replacement graphics card to see if that would fix, if it was a problem with the graphics card. First of all, he listened to all the fans and determined it was the graphics card that needed it.
This is still all through recordings. They're listening to the sound. Okay.
The guy has now been here 3 times. So this whole time I have only been saying, is this normal? And they've, through the action of replacing graphics card and being very on top of it, it sounds like it's not normal.
Right.
But the answer that I've been getting through now 3 video card replacements is that it kind of is. Like the graphics card, modern graphics cards with big fans on them and lots of processing power, the fans on them run at 40% of their maximum speed all the time, like even when the computer's just idling, just to keep things super cool. And so the latest fix, which came on when the guy came on Friday morning, they actually replaced my graphics card with an updated graphics card. So for people who are aware of graphics card stuff, they replaced a GTX 1060 with a 1070, which is 2 more gigabytes of RAM on the card, which brings it to a total of 8 gigs. Mike, you pointed out, and I think you're going to point out again, that it seems weird to think that a more advanced graphics card would be quieter. I agree with the logic of that.
Well, I was going to ask first, are all these replacements being covered under warranty?
Yeah.
Like they're not charging you any extra for these new cards?
I haven't asked for any replacement. They've been trying to do this themselves. And yes, it's all like the 3 that I actually find it really interesting. Mentioning this to people at work that I've been working from home for a couple hours in the morning when this guy has come to do this replacement. It's like, you have a person who comes to your house to fix your computer. And I'm like, it's as weird to me as it is to you, but that's Dell's desktop system, because it's obviously super inconvenient if you're having to mail in a desktop computer. So they just have technicians in, I guess, major cities, and they'll just send them. Like they're hired to be kind of in-person service technicians. So they'll go to the Dell Center, pick up whatever parts they need for the day, and go around fixing computers, which seems like a really cool job, to be honest.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're like third-party contractors.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They wouldn't hire anyone specifically to do that all day, but they'll issue call-outs. Like they'll issue call-outs to the approved contractors.
Yeah.
Right. Like I know, like handymen or like plumbers and all them, like a lot of them are often contractors just because there isn't usually enough work with one specific company to keep someone on staff, but you can at least have some level of like on-call sending them out wherever, just on an as needed basis.
Right. Yeah. So to conclude this story, which really honestly has a fine ending because they have now kind of left it with an upgraded graphics card, and the computer is like, it runs extremely well. I have no issue with running. It's just like, I want to do podcasts with the computer, and to have to now make sure that I have a desk that it's kind of away where you can't hear it, is just a concession I will now have to make. But the reason that this even occurred to me is, first of all, because the ad the ad for the computer on Dell's website says that it's a quiet computer. So I don't think of 50 or 55 decibels as being quiet. Like if I'm sitting next to it and it's now in the kitchen, so there's a fridge running too. If I can hear the computer over a fridge, like it's very loud. And so I didn't think that it should need to be that loud, especially with, I don't know if you have been, I'm assuming you've been keeping up on tech podcasts, but the iMac Pro came out and it's this super beefy computer, and everyone's talking about how you have to like put your ear right up to it to even be able to tell there's a fan in it running.
Well, that was the whole thing. Like when it first came out during the keynote,
yeah,
and they had a demo, not a demo model, but just something there running,
yeah,
that you could go look at, and people were like, "Does it have a fan? I don't think it has a fan." And there were literally people saying, "No, there's no fan," because
right,
as far as they could tell, there wasn't one, right? And like, nope, there's a fan. So,
so it makes me kind of realize once again, like for instance, my laptop, even when I'm doing graphics heavy stuff, like if I'm rendering a video on my laptop, which I don't do very often anymore because it's from 2013, like it's slow, but there are fans in this laptop that do not get as quiet, as loud under max load as this desktop computer does idle.
Right.
And it's just odd.
Is this a independent fan, or is this integrated into the graphics card?
It's on the graphics card.
Okay. Because I was going to say, like, they have replacement or just separate fans you can change out, but this one you wouldn't really be able to do that.
Right.
So,
yeah. So I'm planning, we've kind of settled on with Dell's, again, this is all through Twitter. So it makes it even more impressive because so many companies do bad Twitter support, but I think this is basically where we're leaving it. And I'm planning to just do a write-up of the entire situation and be like, so really my main complaint is like, why are these desktop computers so loud? Like that's one of the reasons that people who like Apple talk about Apple as being really good at design, because using custom parts and charging high amounts of money, you actually do kind of get like the experience you'd want out of a computer is to not be able to hear it. But that only happens if you kind of build it custom and design everything around that idea. And that's what they've done. And Dell, at least on the more advanced you get, it seems like even though they call it quiet is very relative. It doesn't sound like a plane taking off, but it's very, very noticeable and distracting if you're used to kind of not being able to hear it.
Right. The way that I always know when something is very loud is when you notice when the sound's not there.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, wow, it's quiet all of a sudden. Oh my God, was that the computer that was on?
Yeah.
Like our fridge is like that. When we're watching TV in the living room, like it's an open concept main floor. So like you can hear the fridge from the living room. But unless it's off, then it's like, oh wow, that fridge is very loud, because all of a sudden you can't hear it, right?
Yeah.
When you can hear it, your brain is probably pretty good at tuning it out or just not focusing on it.
Yeah.
But when it's not there, that's when you realize how loud it is.
Yeah. I have noticed that I was trying to think about this objectively, and it's really hard to do because, like you mentioned, your brain filters out noise that's constant. And so I'm trying to think about computer noise and ambient noise at work, because I've got a computer sitting there that's like, it's got an 8-core CPU for some reason. I don't know why, but I'm very happy about it. And so I put my ear up to that, and you can hear that too. But I think that the ambient noise with the ventilation system and with everything that's going on, it's just ambiently as loud as the computer. Whereas in my house, the ambient noise is a lot quieter, so the computer sticks out a lot more.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Yeah. So it's very hard to be objective about it. And so I've got when I was telling people at work about this, they were like, oh, I guess it's pretty hard to be objective. Like, I guess a decibel meter is a pretty hard to find tool. I'm like, my phone has one built in. Like, people don't realize that you're like having a microphone just sitting there, like just like a camera. It enables all these extra things. Like, you have a decibel meter in your phone. It's just a matter of using.
Yeah, not the same level of
No, it really
quality
is.
or
How
accuracy.
is it not? It's measuring sound.
I just
objectively.
imagine that it has some limitations that an actual like professional one wouldn't have.
I don't think so. I think it's as accurate. It might not be as precise. Like, it might not go to as many decimal points of precision, but it's very accurate. Like, it will be, because decibels are a relative measure anyways. As long as you calibrate it, the microphone, to sense volume correctly, like it's just measuring relative volumes.
Mm-hmm.
So if for this kind of purpose, or really any kind of audio subjectivity purpose, you can rely on it. Like, obviously, unless it's defective, but a microphone that's working properly will be able to tell loud sounds from quiet sounds.
Well, that's kind of what I mean, though. Like, your phone isn't calibrated, like the mic isn't calibrated the same way that a professional decibel meter is. That even?
Yeah, but it would still give you good relative readings, again, unless it's broken.
But how would it be relative if you're like, if you did it before and after for your computer, saying this was without the fan on, this was what it is with the fan on, unless you were able to catch it? I guess you could have it off. How would that work?
Yeah.
Maybe.
What the guy did when he was here to make sure that it was the GPU fan was just stick his finger in the GPU fan and like, see, here's the sound without it. Here's the sound with it.
Oh, right. And now your motor's burnt out of the fan. Oh, guess you need to replace this.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm planning on writing that up at some point, probably not in the next 2 weeks because we'll be super busy at work, and by super busy at work, I mean, I will be at work until at least 5:30 every day. So it's just gonna be less time in the evenings. So we had what I consider to be a really interesting main topic. It kind of harkens back to past episodes when we've talked about programming and creative projects. Do you want to kind of introduce why you thought this might be an interesting thing to broach?
Well, we had a recent, I guess for a while, the topic of monetization of YouTube videos has been kind of around, at least the past 12 months. We'll call it.
Since Adpocalypse, is that?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I can't remember the exact time frame, but it's definitely within.
I want to say that was like April of 2017.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think we're coming up on a year. And I mean, like, we don't have to get into the details of it, but the long story short is that YouTube is being a lot more discretionary about what qualifies as a video that is able to make money off of ads.
As a channel.
I guess, right. Which the types of videos the channel has plays into part, to a point.
To a point, yeah.
And then I guess that's kind of a separate issue. But then there's a bigger kind of overarching qualification of a channel itself and how many subscribers it has, how many views it has, all this kind of stuff. And the whole purpose of it from YouTube's standpoint is to protect advertisers from being hosted or advertised on channels with unsavory content. And YouTube's found various correlations between channel size and number of views to the risk of it being content that isn't friendly to advertisers. They literally call it advertiser friendly. Which I can appreciate why they want to do that, but it hurts the YouTube creators, especially the smaller ones for obvious reasons, from kind of being incentivized to make content on YouTube. And I guess my impression of this is, like, if you fall under what YouTube considers to be not monetizable, you're probably not making enough anyway to have it be a huge deal. Like, we're talking on the order of like maybe $5 a month.
Yes.
Like, I'm not sure what the exact number cutoffs would work out to be under YouTube's kind of qualifications, but it's on that scale. Like, say $5 to $10 a month. And now people who had been making $5 to $10 a month on their videos aren't making it anymore because they're not able to have their channel monetized.
Right.
And I'm on a couple of YouTube groups. Like I'm kind of closer to the YouTube creator community, at least locally in Calgary anyway.
Mhm.
And the reaction has obviously been negative. I mean, people would prefer to make money than not.
Yes.
But some people have taken it as like, well, I'm not going to make videos for YouTube anymore.
Mhm.
Or like, oh, I'm not going to just, it's like, okay, well, and I'm not the only one that has this
Mhm.
question, because I've seen other people ask it too, but it's like, what, like, were you really making videos because you're making $10 a month? Like, this seems like a huge waste of time.
Mhm.
If that was the reason you were doing it.
If that is your reason, then you probably shouldn't be making videos.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like don't make them for money. It's like, that's maybe like $1 per hour that you're making with between recording and editing and all that kind of stuff. Right.
Mhm.
So then that kind of got me thinking. I'm like, okay, well, like everyone kind of has like hobbies or passion projects and that kind of thing. And I was curious to talk about kind of like what keeps us doing what we like to do. Like what specific things do we do that we enjoy doing for the reason of doing it, and what kind of keeps us doing it, and or keeps us motivated or incentivized to keep doing it. And again, like springing off of this YouTube Adpocalypse fiasco, I mean, like Rob, you have a lot more kind of exposure and experience with this type of thing. We'll call it creative projects for lack of a better word, or just to kind of encapsulate any sort of endeavor that is not purely a part of like your paid work.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe give us a bit of insight into your history with creative content and what kind of keeps you going, and maybe just your take on the end goal for some people anyway, to make money from doing what they enjoy doing, in the sense of these creative projects.
Yeah. So since 2013 or so, when I first started my personal YouTube channel, not just that I'm like, you can have a YouTube account that you can subscribe to channels and watch stuff, and that obviously still exists. But when I first started kind of, sorry, I have a super huge cough this month. When I first started doing YouTube as a thing, like from the creative side, my main goal was to get to the point, which doesn't take very long, but to get to the point where you can monetize. And so once I did that, which wasn't that hard to do, it was kind of like, okay, can I, like, obviously this isn't my job. I'm still, at the times when I was unemployed, I was still looking for work. At the times when I was working, I was like, okay, this is a fun hobby. I want to learn how this works. I want to kind of see if I can do it. The first time you make a penny from AdSense is like amazing. And obviously you can look at different metrics for success and see how you're doing relative to them. But money was always the most tangible. Like, you can look at watch time and number of subscribers and all these things, but seeing the amount of money you make per month go from a penny to 2 pennies to 3 pennies to 5 pennies to 8 to whatever, watching it grow month to month, whether or not you're actually, because YouTube doesn't actually, or AdSense, Google and YouTube don't pay out until you hit $100. So when you're making a few cents a month, you're not actually getting that money. You're kind of just watching it accumulate. So as somebody who actually has gotten,
it's like Schrodinger's money.
Yeah, exactly. It's sitting there in a bin, but you can't access it.
Well, and it's technically not even yours yet.
Right.
It's like your hypothetical money should you reach $100.
Yeah. And I'm sure they make a lot of money on ads from the channels that never make it, or they had until they changed all the rules and they're about to go into effect, or they just did. It was really satisfying getting the first check for $100 from Google for having made videos. And I only ever got 2 of them. My account now is at 42 something, and I think it'll probably just stay around there, because for YouTube, they've changed the rules now. So we're not going to fall under, none of my YouTube channels are going to fall under the kind of money-making rules. And it is very discouraging. Like I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to change anything what I'm doing because I'm not relying on any YouTube money, and it would be stupid to rely on YouTube money in my case. But it's discouraging in the sense that you don't get to watch that happening anymore slowly. Like you'd have to use different metrics. You'd have to use like the limit that they put on it now is 4,000 watch hours. So people have to watch your content for 4,000 hours every month. Or sorry, not every month, every year in order for you to qualify now. And the last time they made a change, they made it that you need 1,000 subscribers to in order to monetize, but that was grandfathering in channels that had already keeping channels grandfathered in that had already been monetized. So we weren't affected by that, even though none of my channels, like I think this the Future Chat YouTube channel is the highest with around 75 subscribers. I'm never realistically, unless I'm kind of dive full in making this YouTube a full-time job, I'm not going to get to 1,000 watch hours a month. I get what I consider, like the YouTube channels that I manage, I get what I consider to be quite a bit of watch time, considering how little time I put into the actual YouTube channel. Like we have a couple videos that we put together on Future Chat, and there are a couple videos on Attrell Update that actually do get watched on a regular basis. For some reason, the drilling videos that you posted still get like weirdly regular watches.
I don't think it's weird. It's like people look up drilling rig videos. Like
that's weird.
On a side tangent, like when someone especially in oil and gas wants to know how rigs work, like it's fairly not complicated. It's a thing to go out to the field to see a drilling rig, right? Like you have a lot of moving parts and whatever, like both logistically and mechanically. So the easiest way to see how it works is to look up a YouTube video on it. That goes for any like YouTube thing. Like to go to the Amazon is you look up a video of the Amazon than to go there. So like that's why people keep watching them, is because it's an interesting thing. I don't know.
No, it's intriguing to me that it is a thing, mostly because I've never been exposed to it. But when you posted them, I was like, that's a cool experience that you got to have and you're sharing it. But to see the response from people was actually really cool. And I don't think those videos don't reach the level of making a lot of money, but they do kind of branch into that few cents a month kind of thing.
All worth it.
Exactly. I don't know. I still find myself wanting to make more videos. Honestly, it does kind of a part of me when they changed the parameters were like, I bet if I really poured a lot of energy into this, that I actually could get to that many watch hours a month.
Right.
Like it wouldn't be, considering the amount of effort that I put into YouTube, like in the last 12 months is effectively zero. Like we stream these podcasts, but that's basically all I do now for YouTube. And I think we're only like, if we got 100 times more audience, we would meet the qualification. And like, that's not that far off. Like being able to put in 100 times more effort than effectively zero effort, it is doable.
Right.
But at the same time, it's not realistic. Like I'm not realistically going to quit my day job with no promise of money coming in unless I can 100 times the audience that I'm able to reach. And so that cap is kind of keeping me from even trying. Whereas if the policy was different, then I could at least justify to myself, like to be able to try and ramp up the effort like 10 times and see if 10 times the money comes in. And like being able to get 10 or 20 or 50 or $100 a month from it and seeing that number grow every month is very different from watching your metrics go up, but still making zero money because you're below the money making threshold. I don't know, that's how I've always felt from it.
As you were talking about getting literally a couple cents a month, it got me thinking about the effect of gamification and like my experience with gamification is from actual games.
Yeah.
With like Pokemon Go and how like gym coins,
Mhm.
like for all intents and purposes, like I mean, no one's like when you get 50 coins a day, that's like literally 50 cents. Like
Yeah.
people would walk past that if they saw it on the street,
Mhm.
maybe, probably,
Most people, I
right?
think, would.
Most people probably would, but people in the game will go to great lengths to get those 50 coins because it's a rewarding thing. And I think the YouTube monetization for the people in that bracket of, you know, dollars a month, even tens of dollars a month,
Mhm.
I think the effect is more of a gamification effect than an actual like income effect. Again, I'm
Definitely.
speaking in general. There may be people that do rely on some of the YouTube income to make ends meet or to whatever, right?
Yep.
But for the most part, like people in that bracket, they, like you said, you know, you see that, you know, dollar value go up until you get that 100, then you get that check. Like that's a very rewarding thing, despite the relative insignificance of that income in an
Yep.
overall sense of the actual income you get from your job. So if YouTube could introduce some other sort of income, like YouTube bucks or something,
Sure.
where like it's not relying on ad revenue, but it's like, you know, if you produce and post this content and it gets X number of views or whatever, then you get however many YouTube bucks from it, and then you can use that for, I don't know, what you'd use it
Well,
for.
you could even use it to unlock features because
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah, like
they have like monetize or like monetizable channels also unlock certain features that other people just can't. Like I think one of the things, I haven't actually seen this because I think we're still grandfathered in to the features side of things, but one of the things that paid channels get that regular kind of non-monetized channels don't get is the ability to use custom thumbnails. So instead of just YouTube picking a bunch of random shots of your video and you getting to pick between those, you can actually upload a custom image that will be your thumbnail. That's one of the things that, like, if you attain certain, like if you upload a video every month for 3 months or upload a video every week for 6 weeks or something, like some arbitrary goal that you could unlock special things like you were saying, I think that would actually kind of be an interesting way to get people incentivized to keep making money, because even if you're not making money, you still feel like you're making progress towards the eventual goal of getting to 4,000 watch minutes.
yeah,
Like, and they could definitely gamify that aspect, as in like they could keep track of how close you are to that goal and say like, oh, this month you were 40% of your way to the goal. Keep going. And if you upload one more video this month, you'll get, I don't know, annotations or whatever it is. I think it would be an interesting way to go about that.
yeah. Like I don't want it to go down the road of paywalling features or
No, definitely
locking
not.
them behind on being unlocked or whatever,
Mhm.
unless they already are. Like you said, I'm
Yeah.
not familiar with what features are and aren't, but I think there is some way to find an alternative to the monetizing of channels or videos that aren't qualified to be,
Mhm.
but still have the creators motivated and incentivized to make that content, assuming that just the act of producing it isn't enough to keep doing it. And not to say that they're doing it for the wrong reasons, but I can totally see how, you know, you get used to seeing your metrics and your money go up, and then all of a sudden that's taken away. It's like, well,
Mhm.
that sucks. Like that becomes a part of the thing that you look forward to seeing.
Yeah.
And when that doesn't happen anymore, then I can totally see how that can be demotivating for
Mhm.
sure. But you know, you talked about kind of like your Smith monetization, and like right now you said you're doing mainly just the stream uploads.
Yep.
But like that's not really related to not having the monetization. I guess you said like you already have monetization ability for those channels, right? Or we don't meet them right
So
now.
like I said, they originally it was there was certain, like, I think it was basically if you verified your channel, like if you're able to go through the steps to prove that you're an actual person and have the credentials to like have access to the website you said you had, like they verified that you were a creator, you could get AdSense no matter how many views you had. And then last year they introduced the thing where you need like new channels will need 1,000
Mm.
subscribers before they can be monetized. And now they've introduced, in the last month or so, they've introduced a new set of rules to overtake that 1,000 subscriber one, where you need 4,000 watch hours per year. And if you do not get that, you will actually lose your monetization status. So all the channels that I have will lose the monetization status that they had. Right. Because we do not meet that new criteria, and that criteria does not allow old channels to be grandfathered in. Which honestly to me seems kind of like, I was totally fine with all of these things, but it was the removing of grandfathered channels that really bothered me, because they already, like, the reason to do this is because places, I mean, seedier places would just start a YouTube channel and either upload bad content or just re-upload content from other channels, like other copyrighted video content, make money off of that. And that those channels would get shut down. So by not grandfathering in channels that had monetization status, it seems like, why are you punishing them when you're already shutting down the channels that are doing this, like illegally uploading copyrighted material? It just seems like it's not necessary to remove channels that were perfectly fine, like ours, that don't upload copyrighted material and have been doing so for years, making a little bit of money and putting ads on stuff. But I guess the reason is that they want to say, rather than saying, hey, advertisers, we have a bunch of content, and you can be sure that, like, what they're doing now is, you can be sure that we have verified that these channels, if once they reach that threshold, they become manually checked. And before that, it's just kind of open season, and they're not advertising on it anymore. Rather than saying to advertisers, hey, we have a bunch of content, you can upload, you can check this stuff, and then if that channel does something bad, we will shut that channel down. They're flipping to the other side of making sure that every channel that has ads on it has been verified by an actual person to be good and advertisable.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the opposite way to do things.
Yeah, it's more of like a shotgun approach.
Right.
Like, and again, like they're at the scale where that's really the only realistic way to make sure that you're controlling things, is by like over restricting.
Yeah.
Versus trying to accommodate, like you said, the grandfathered ones that advertisers may or may not be okay with having their ads run on. But it's like, yeah, like you said, up to this point, if they've made it this far, like they should be good to host the ads, right?
Or at least if they're not, then we shut the channel down anyways. Like if someone uploads copyrighted material, their channel gets shut down.
Right. But I think the problem is that advertisers, they don't even want the chance of it to happen once.
Well, that's the thing, is that the reason this was sparked was, I think the New York Times did an expose on, like, all they have to get is a screen grab of an ad running on some video that definitely shouldn't be monetized.
Right.
And YouTube gets in a lot of trouble for that, like with their shareholders, for instance.
Right. Well, and when it looks worse on the people doing the advertisement on there, it's like,
exactly. Well, that too. Yeah, exactly.
That was a whole idea. It's like, oh, this, Colgate is sponsoring terrorism, right? Like exactly. that was a whole thing. And it's like, well, that's kind of ridiculous, but that's the story that gets spun.
Well, because it's a screenshot. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so unless YouTube has the ability to come with data and say, no, we specifically do not do that, we check every video that gets monetized, then they're kind of exposing themselves to the possibility of someone being able to get, even if that's a doctored screenshot, being able to say, hey, look what we found on YouTube, and this platform of advertisers that are talking about hate groups or whatever it is. It's just leaving them open to liability.
Yeah.
So it sucks, but in the end, it is a few dollars a month at most for a lot of people that are under this threshold. And we think of it as being this kind of insurmountable goal as kind of micro creators on YouTube. We think of it as being this insurmountable thing, but in the grand scheme of YouTube channels, you can't make your living, even if you get 4,000 watch hours a year. That's not a living. That's not even a living for one person, realistically. And so you can't really hold it against them that hard, if at all. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and even like for creators like CGP Grey and Numberphile, like Brady Heron's channels, like they've even said that the AdSense or just the YouTube ad dollars, like that's not really enough,
right,
to make a living off of.
Yeah, even for
Like
them.
at their scale, right? It's like they still need the other additional sponsorships that they make on the side, not on the side, but just in addition to the YouTube dollars, right? Where they have the sponsored content on the videos themselves, not just the banner ads or the floating ads that are run. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a crazy kind of thing, but I hope that they do end up offering something too, like I said, to keep the smaller creators motivated and encouraged to keep putting content on there.
Yeah. One of the things that I thought of that is kind of an interesting angle to this is that YouTube started off, the idea of YouTube for a lot of people is like, hey, this company will host my videos for free in an unlimited fashion. And the only way that they would do that YouTube would do that, is because they were running ads against it. And now with the monetization going away, like there is no ability for, like, YouTube's not going to put ads on my videos. Like, I see that as, like, I've been making an internal prediction for a while that the next step is not everyone can upload videos to YouTube, because video is super bandwidth intensive. And the only thing that I could think that would make them potentially decide to stay in that kind of game is that they love machine learning, and they're able to, if they're able to process that video, they can use it for their machine learning prowess the same way they're doing with Google Photos. Like, they're able to advance their image recognition by having people want to upload terabytes and exabytes of data to their service.
Right.
But other than that, I don't see there being any reason for YouTube to let anyone upload any video they want for free to their service. That's the only thing that's keeping them motivated to do that.
You could have a level of like application, like to apply to have your video monetized or your channel monetized at whatever. So whether that's before you start uploading or not, like they can kind of segregate the ads, the free videos and the ad videos on the back end, so that when like you or I upload a video just on a personal YouTube account, it's like it'll go into that free but non-ad run category. And then if we ever want to monetize it, then we can apply, and then they run whatever machine learning algorithm and metric analysis on our channels and say whether we qualify or not, versus the other way around where they have to start either taking the monetization away or just not having like an explicit, like you have to make the monetization like a privilege, like that image of it being a privilege, not something that anyone deserves to have and is being taken away or being held back from.
But so what I'm talking about is the reason, like, YouTube was bought by Google in order to be this giant platform that anyone could upload video to. And the incentive for YouTube to have that platform was that they could run ads against it. And now they're saying, we're not going to run ads against the vast, vast majority of videos on YouTube. So there goes the motivation for it to be an advertiser-friendly platform.
Because they're like ubiquitous enough where people will go anyway. Like people are like, oh, let me go Bing video this video I'm looking for. Like they'll go to YouTube and type it in the search bar.
Yeah. No, the incentive now has shifted so much that YouTube will continue to exist with videos being uploaded, like, again, thousands of hours per minute or per second or whatever it is now, some insane amount of videos. But there's no ads running on 99% of those videos.
Aren't there still like browser ads?
Like,
I feel like
an image, basically, not a video ad.
Like on the side, where it's not on the video itself. I'm sure they're still running ads on those. I don't think that whole page is completely ad free.
Well, yeah, I see what you're saying, and it's possible. But first of all, for one, on mobile, that type of ad does not exist.
Right.
and it's just on like the actual desktop website, which is being used less and less anyways. And I see that as having potentially the same problem that the other channels did. Like, I think that you're right in that you can control, as a monetized video creator, you can control whether you have like pre-roll ads, mid-roll ads, or the little one at the bottom of the screen. But then there is a desktop ad, like sitting at the top of the list of videos or whatever, that's just an image that sits there and it's on no matter what. So that might still exist. But I feel like that kind of has the same problem the other ads do too. Like if ISIS made a video and you see this ad for, I don't know,
the official ISIS channel,
and you see an ad for Jello, like Jello's going to get in trouble, and YouTube's going to get in trouble for supporting ISIS. I don't know. It seems like the same.
If that ad is like embedded or a part of the video, yes.
Well, yeah,
but if
it's not.
But if it's just a banner on the side, or even underneath.
Well, the conceit is that company is, or ISIS or whatever, is making money off of, and YouTube is making money off of that content. Like in the same way that Breitbart is having had all these advertisers pulling their ads from Breitbart. It's like it was Google's, like AdSense's search index that was just pinging all these ads, and whatever ad wins the bid gets to put an ad, or whatever company wins the bid gets to put an ad there. But company or people were screenshotting again Breitbart and saying, "Hey, Jello, why are you advertising on this news website?" And so all these advertisers were going into their AdSense accounts and blocking Breitbart from showing their ads. It's the same idea. It's just a static banner ad, but seeing your company's name next to Breitbart's logo is not a good look, and people complain about it. I don't know. It just seems like a slippery slope, and it's all very complicated. And so I definitely don't know that there is a right way to do this on YouTube's end, but I appreciate that they are trying to find something that works. It just ends up bumming out, again, the 99% of YouTubers that are now not going to be able to make any money. Whereas before there might have been 10 or 15 or 20%. I don't really know the exact number that were making like $1 or $2 a month. And then over a couple of years, they were able to get that one payout.
Right. And like you said, to have something to work toward and to strive for. Again, just aside from the relative size of that income, it's still something that's incentivizing people to make that content.
Yep. I don't know if you've noticed this on the side. You brought up CGP Grey, and Brady, I guess, is that there are a lot of YouTubers these days, like a lot, that are now like, they started off like, hey, let's start a podcast, let's do this thing. And now like CGP Grey makes 10 times more podcasts than he does YouTube videos. It's like, it's clear that the amount of money you can make on YouTube as a platform, like obviously you get a great audience from YouTube, but the amount of money you can make from that platform is much less than you do kind of talking directly with advertisers and selling to them, rather than having to deal with YouTube's CPM.
Right.
I find it interesting.
Well, the thing with YouTube is that the content is very shareable and it spreads, whereas podcast is not. Like it's almost hostile to being shared, like the way it's set up right now. Yeah. So that's what, and so on that point, like it should almost be reversed. Like the ads on podcasts are maybe more effective, but it's definitely not reaching as far as a YouTube video would.
Yep.
So yeah, it's definitely one of those kind of, we'll have to see where it goes. And I don't know what the CPMs, like where they're trending, like if videos are going up or down or staying the same, and the same with podcasts. But I mean, like when I listen to podcasts, like I am, like if it's an ad that I haven't heard before, like I'll usually listen to it just out of interest. And it's the person, like the podcast host, doing the ad pitch, or the ad read. So like it's not taking me away from the podcast too much. Not like on the radio where it's like Sunday. Like,
I don't know. Have you heard any of the ads for RX Bar?
Yes, I was actually intrigued by that.
I know.
I
So
wanted to look into it a little bit.
I checked. They don't ship to Canada.
Oh, damn it.
Obviously. They're a fairly small company that in September of 2017 were bought by Kellogg's.
Oh.
And that's when they started advertising
Oh,
on podcasts.
interesting. See, here I thought they were like this, startup, like
They were.
kind of thing.
They
I
were
guess
super successful.
Oh,
yeah.
interesting. So now that makes me not want to buy them.
I know. Well, so I was thinking, I thought that. I was like, oh, those sellouts. But now I'm like, it was obviously a good product.
Right.
And
enough for Kellogg's to buy them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I don't know anymore. Like, it's funny because I think of myself as not being persuadable by podcasters and by podcast ads. But then, because I had heard people pitching this as an advertiser on a podcast. And then I heard Marco talking about it. And I was like, he's really saying some stuff that resonates with me. And I'm like, okay. So it's just Marco Arment that does this.
Right.
But that was when I checked and I was like, damn, they're not available in Canada.
Yeah, like I'll notice myself, and usually just when the actual podcaster is talking, and I'll actually like internalize the ad and be like, is this for me? Like a fracture, right? Like, would I use a fracture? Would I use backblaze? Like, and I guess that's what an advertiser wants, right? But when they're running that ad on a YouTube video, you're like, oh, just give me the video already, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
I have watched so many, like, their YouTube videos. Some of the YouTube ads are like 5 seconds, and you just like, you can't skip them, but there's nothing to skip. And then there's ones that are like 4.5 minutes long, and after 5 seconds you can just skip it. And I can tell that they're trying, the advertiser is trying so hard to catch me, to get me to watch more in the first 5 seconds, but it's usually about something that I do not care about at all. There's a while for like, I don't know, probably 6 months or something, I would see this ad, and there was this guy, I'm going to try to remember it, but I'm going to butcher it because I didn't care at all about this ad, but it kept showing it to me. It was a guy talking about, he had like a big bowl of hot wings in front of him, and I hate hot wings. Like, I really don't like them. He was like, listen, this video is about Sprite. I love Sprite. Sprite gave me some Sprite, and I'm going to try it with these hot wings. And like, he was going to eat the hot wings. I hate hot wings. Like, I do not want to watch this. I get what you're trying to do here, and I'm sure this appeals to a lot of people, but it's making me want to skip it more. The fact that you're so excited to try to catch me.
Yeah. But you remembered it was Sprite.
Yeah, but I didn't buy Sprite.
That's okay. Sometimes it's just about the awareness, Rob. Just to remind you that Sprite's there on the shelf waiting for you when you're ready for it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't really drink pop anymore, but if I did, I would definitely drink that beverage. Cold,
smooth, bubbly taste of Sprite.
Yeah. This podcast has become a meta ad of itself. Oh. So I've talked about my kind of thoughts on creating and wanting money out of it. You yourself are becoming more and more, at least the way I see it, like wanting to do the stuff you're talking to me about, wanting to try and edit podcasts, like doing this kind of thing. What do you think about kind of the idea of doing creative stuff on the side and doing it for passion versus money versus making a living? What do you think?
Right. I think for myself, it's always been, if I feel that I could broaden my skills and learn something, then I'll usually put some, spare time into it. Like, we've talked a lot on the show about programming and coding and that kind of stuff. And that's what really motivated me to learn that side of things. Like with Excel, like I'd always heard about macros, and like, it's like, oh, they sound pretty cool, but I had never had like a reason or an excuse to dive into it. But then with this project I've been working on with work, it gave me an excuse and a reason to get into that and kind of get my feet wet with macros and that kind of stuff. And it's, taken off from there. With podcasts, obviously it started more as an opportunity to talk about stuff that I really enjoy talking about, with the added benefit of staying attuned to science and tech in the news and just topics like that. So again, kind of that opportunity to kind of learn a bit more and stay up to date, and then talk about it with people that I like talking to. As far as the editing goes, like I think I've been more interested in that since hearing podcasters on shows that I listen to talk about how they edit shows and the kind of stuff involved with that. And I'm like, oh, that sounds really cool. Like, I'm the kind of person that really likes to make things the way that I like them to be made. Like when I listen to a show, I'll pick up on things and be like, oh, like I might have like, cut that part out or just, I don't know, not to criticize your editing, but
Ouch.
like I'll listen to our shows and be like, oh, I probably would have cut that out, or like, I don't know. I'm not like as a criticism, but just thinking about it to myself as like a subconscious, like I would have done that a bit differently. And it's kind of natural to do that when you're in podcasting and you hear other people do the production or the editing. So I thought it was like, well, it's one thing to say I would have done that, but it's like I'd have no chance in hell actually doing it because I haven't done it before. But I think I'd like to start doing that. So that's part of what motivates my desire to do that, to kind of get a better appreciation for what goes into that kind of thing. And like I've asked you different questions on like different types of filtering or just audio quality manipulation, all that kind of stuff that goes into the editing. So I am just curious about that kind of thing. And it's related to what I even took in school with like signal processing. Like I took a couple courses on that. Yeah. So that's why it's interested me as well. So I think that's probably a good way to put it. And that's probably why I haven't gotten into like YouTube videos, is like, I'm not really set up on like the video side of things to like, aside from having just a regular webcam. Like I don't have a whole video setup with a screen and lighting and all that kind of stuff like a lot of other YouTubers do. But I just don't feel, I don't see the same sort of opportunity to learn things that I'm interested in with video the same way that I do with programming and computers and audio with the podcast editing and that kind of thing.
Right. So
like for me, it's not really about the potential monetization or even like metrics like views or listens or downloads or that kind of stuff. It's just, if I get something out of it, then that is what I look for. And for video, like I don't have the kind of personality to thrive in video, I don't think. Not that I do thrive in audio, but
I think it's very easy. Like if you throw yourself into something that you love, even like that you really want to try, even though you're not good at it, you just by doing it badly a lot, you get better. You might not ever be the best podcaster ever, or you might not even ever get good at narrating video or doing voiceover or vlogging or whatever the case may be. But if you keep doing it badly, you will get better. And if you keep doing it good, then you will. That's the only way to get great. Like you can't, I really think the idea that people just start doing something and are instantly amazing at it just doesn't actually happen at all.
Right.
It's something you talk about, but nobody actually ever does that.
Right. I think video is also just very intimidating. Like just the whole, there's a lot of considerations just in the whole setup and the recording part, not even going into the editing and
it's true.
Like adding like effects and transitions and cuts and all this kind of stuff. Like it's very involved. And I feel that there's a huge learning curve and amount of initial energy to get the momentum that I don't really feel that I have right now or want to try, versus like editing a podcast. Not that it's easy, but I think it's a lot easier than editing video.
The degrees of freedom are exponentially higher on video.
Yeah.
Like writing, I would say, has the fewest degrees of freedom because you can do something as simple as just plain text editing and then posting that plain text on a static web page. Like it's very low energy. There's not a lot of freedom. Whereas with podcast editing, that goes kind of the next level where there's audio, there's different levels you have to worry about. There's all these different considerations. And then video goes even higher than that, where there's just thousands of different things you have to think about and different equipment you have to have. And the idea that you can actually make a decent like vlog video or talking to camera video with just your phone these days is kind of incredible to me. But you're making concessions that if you had a more professional setup, you wouldn't have to make.
Right. Yeah, and I've seen some very well done videos just from like local YouTubers here in Calgary, and I'm very impressed by them. And I don't think I even have the same appreciation for it that I could or should have. But I acknowledge like, wow, these are like legit professional videos.
Yeah. Yeah.
That, you know, if I didn't know that they were local and probably not monetized, like I'd never know, right?
Exactly.
Like they're just that well done. Like there's just a lot of production value in those, right? And I think that's what part of what like intimidates me about it is like I'd want to be at that point like right away. If I was to get into it, I'm like, this sucks. Like I'm not even gonna post this. No, I'm serious. Like I'd record it and I try editing it. I'm like, this is horrible. Like why would I wouldn't even watch this, right? Like
but there's a reason why, like I don't know if you ever heard the stereotype that you have to leave up your first YouTube video because everybody's first YouTube video is terrible. Like it ends up not being what their channel is about. Like it's just completely out in left field. The quality level is so low. Everything is bad. But then that's like the only way to actually learn. Because if you tell yourself, okay, even if I make this, I'm not going to post it, then you're never going to make it because there's no reason to, because you're not even going to post it. But if you commit to posting the first one, no matter how bad it is, then that's where you start learning. If I had never gone and made my very first video, I just wouldn't have, like, if you go back and listen right now to the first, what do we even call it? It wasn't even Future Chat at that point. It was just like
Future Side Chat,
hanging out on air. It was just, we were talking about smartphones.
Right.
If I had never done that, I don't even think like that was when I say this, I'm talking about the one that was
like
just
you
me
and
and
Carolyn did. Yeah.
If I had never done that, I would never have started podcasting. And I've learned so much in that time. But really, once I get all the prep work out of the way, like I spend probably half an hour, 45 minutes before each episode getting stuff ready, getting kind of this, building the system or using the system to build a new episode. And then spending like 45 minutes to an hour afterwards, editing and getting all the metadata ready to post. The actual, from the start of the video to the end of the video, I'm better at kind of public speaking and keeping flow and not having dead air. But it's pretty much the same as it was in that very first one. It's just like sitting with a friend or someone that you share an interest with and talking about stuff. It's not that different.
Mm-hmm. And I would like to get into YouTube videos or just videos in general, but I mean, what else are you going to post it to?
Vimeo videos.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just like anything. It's very, there's that level of intimidation always like a reason to like talk yourself out of it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It's like, oh, I don't have time for it. Oh, it'd be like whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe like, yeah, I'd need like a reason to do it. I think.
Well, yeah, I had one. And that was, so the reason, like one of the things that started getting me making videos was when I first tried Soylent. Like I made 2 or 3 videos where I was just explaining the process or showing the process. And that was such a fun thing because it shows you what you can do with not very much equipment. And just like you can make the most basic thing without really anything you don't already have. Like you already have a decent enough camera phone that you can just do it, put it together in the most basic form you can do. And then like at the point of your first video, the most basic thing you can do is also the most advanced thing you can do. So you just do what you can.
Right.
And once you have that up, you know kind of where your biggest shortcomings are and you can address those in another video, but you don't even have to come up with something that you have. You just have to make that thing something you're going to make a video about.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably be more inclined to do a video, something like a Khan Academy type video.
Yeah.
With like math concepts or science or that kind of thing, where I don't have to be in front of a camera all the time, if at all.
Right.
And so I'm doing like the audio podcasting part of the script, and then doing, I guess, more of an animation type side with the video, like the visuals, I guess. Or I guess you can do it with like a little whiteboard type thing, and you're just drawing on that. I don't know.
So, like, you're describing the conception of two different huge YouTube channels.
Right.
Well,
because like Minute Physics
being one, Minute Physics, Minute Earth, ASAP Science,
right,
and CGP Grey is the other one. Yeah. Like, you're describing, just explaining a concept in Khan Academy style with animations. Like, that's just CGP Grey.
Right. But I guess what I'm getting at is like that is kind of the like meeting in the middle with doing a YouTube video but not wanting to do a YouTube video. Yeah. Like, it's like Gray even said that on a recent episode of Cortex, like I think it was Cortex or maybe Hello Internet, where, you know, he started making videos in that style because he didn't really want to be in front of a camera.
Right.
But he wanted to make videos. Right.
And now he's literally still never been in front of a camera ever.
No, well, without not him recording it, like he's done live.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. I've seen his body, but I don't think if I've seen his face, it was like once.
I've never seen his face. I've seen his hands in the left brain, right brain, or IM2 or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I would say, as somebody who has done it, that you should just do it. Just decide what you're going to make a video about and then do it. Like, make a video
I have videos posted.
Oh, like I know, but you know what I mean?
Like a production. Like,
make a specific thing. Yeah. Like, make a video about trimming your beard. Just like make a video about something. Like, the concept, it doesn't have to be high concept. It doesn't have to be art. Just make a video about something so you can learn and do better next time.
Right. Yeah, that's fair.
I literally made a video where I just like shaved and brushed my teeth.
I remember that video. That was a good video.
The fact you're saying that was a good video is like, no, it wasn't. But
no, it was good because it was different. It was a unique thing to do. I don't know. I liked it.
Yeah.
And it had like a little fast forwarding sequence. That's always fun.
Yeah.
But even something like that, it's like, how would I do that? I'm sure it's just a button that you press and say, have this part be faster than the other parts.
Well, that's the other big piece of advice. Like, other than just do it, like, do the first one and make it bad. Like, you aspire to make it good, but it's going to be bad. Is that if you invest in tools for something you want to pursue, like with the Creative Cloud subscription, which is the reason that I can do all the stuff I do now. Once you have that, you can do stuff. And then, first of all, it motivates you because it's like, well, if I'm paying for this, I may as well do it. And if after 6 months you absolutely hate it, or you didn't like the product, or you want to just stop, you can just stop paying for it.
Right.
But that's, yeah, I would say try. See if you like confirm to yourself that you don't like it, or that you like it as little as you thought you would, or find out that you do like it.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like this is the birth of your new YouTube channel. So this is probably a good spot to leave it. Do you have any parting words for creators thinking of starting a podcast or thinking of starting something creative?
I would highly recommend you pursue anything that you find interesting. And I mean, like, my thoughts on starting a YouTube channel probably don't match what I'm about to say, but, you know, if you enjoy doing something and you're passionate about something, like, don't be afraid to try it. Yeah. And you know, like Rob was saying, like, start out small and just see how it goes, see if you like it, and if it doesn't take you anywhere, then fine. But like, don't do it for the money. Like, there's definitely opportunities to make money and for it to turn into something, but like, don't expect that. And you know, worst case, if it doesn't turn into anything, at least you enjoy doing it. For sure.
Great. Well, in that case, I'll thank everyone for listening to this month's episode of Desktop, and we'll see you next month.
See ya.